I have a texter document. Oh yes, it's true. It's full of Jimquisition subject ideas, loads of topic ideas, a wide variety, a huge smattering, a smorgasbord of subject matter that I want to talk about, and we'll get round to talking about eventually, just as soon as the usual suspects stop fucking up. Like Konami, stop it. Ubisoft, drop it. Digital Homicide, please stop. If you stop, you have my permission to cry, and then just fuck off. Speaking of which, we're going to talk about Digital Homicide. I know, some of you think this is going on a bit too much, but, well, it's almost the year anniversary between them and I, and, well, have I got an anniversary gift for them? Enjoy. Digital Homicide became infamous after initiating a fight with yours truly over my coverage of The Slaughtering Grounds, a terrible title that made multiple worst games of 2014 lists due to it being, well, horribly horrible. After petulantly insulting me, trying to censor me, and eventually taking part in a supposed interview where the studio attempted to dox me and levelled false allegations at me, it disappeared for quite some time. Or so we initially thought. See, while Digital Homicide maintained public radio silence, its subsidiaries, or should I say its sock puppets, did not. I cover a lot of indie games on Steam, and was quite surprised to learn that I'd been playing and criticising Digital Homicide games without even knowing it. Both Devil's Share and Galactic Hitman, both games I've played before, were published under the name ECC Games, and while the horrific quality and asset-laden nature of them should have been a giveaway, it was quite a shock to find out that it was our good old friends James and Robert Romaine. This, initially, was something of an amusing situation, but after digging deeper, things became quite troublesome indeed. As well as ECC Games, Digital Homicide also developed games under the name Micro-Strategic Game Designs, through which it managed to push Attrition Nuclear Domination onto Steam via Greenlight. Around this time, it also attempted to get Bombing Run Heavy Fire onto Steam under the name The Mac. The gig was rumbled when a Sailnauts page listed Galactic Hitman as belonging to Digital Homicide, and the issue was compounded further when Nuclear Domination was added to the recently compiled Digital Homicide bundle on Steam. That game was removed quickly by Robert and James, but evidence of the alteration was found, and the jig was up. Furthermore, a curious website that offered free download key giveaways, bundleblitz.com, was somehow linked to Digital Homicide, though I could find no substantial evidence for it at the time. It did, however, promote several games belonging to the Romaine brothers, and it used the rubbish Slaughtering Grounds font on its page alongside inexplicable stock images of half-naked women with footballs. While all this muck was unearthing, I received an email from ECC Games. But not the ECC Games that Digital Homicide was trading under. This ECC Games was a mobile developer from Poland, quite alarmed that its name was being used to sell utter shite on Steam. In an email to me, the real ECC Games said it was taking legal action against the brothers in order to stop them infringing on its name. Now, despite being rumbled, Digihom maintained its bullshit. It changed ECC Games quite quickly to Every Click Counts, and tried to show official Facebook pages to prove it was a real company, being careful not to deny allegations, but conveniently ignoring them. Under the name of Every Click Counts, it tried to get a game called Primate greenlit. Surprise, surprise, it looked like a pile of red raw anuses. After pressure from my own coverage and other commentators, however, Digital Homicide eventually gave all this up. It revealed its hand and showcased an absolutely amazing commitment to flooding Steam with an obscene number of horrible-looking games. BundleBlitz.com was unceremoniously transformed into an official Digital Homicide page, confessing that all those potentially unrelated games being given away and promoted to viewers was, in fact, entirely the work of Robert and James Romaine. Currently, the site lists not 1, not 2, but 9 games trying to get through Greenlight. Yes, 9 games at once, all from one studio that claims it works hard on its products. Looking at the Greenlight pages, however, they still use different fucking studio names. Assault on Orion 7 by Runtime Game Network, Bombing Run by The Mac, Coastal Carnage by MicroStrategy Designs, Grimmer's Journey by Jerkco123, Hover Tank Attack by Jerkco123, Starship Nova by Runtime Game Network, Mini Attack Submarine by Simple But Fun Games, Operation Vile Strike by Muckfinity Games 777, and ELT The Extra Large Testicle by Victory Games. Because Steam lets users just pick a name and upload their shit to Greenlight, Digital Homicide has been seeding the place with titles for quite some time, it seems. All of it shit, all of it released in a shockingly brief space of time. These 9 games are in addition to the ones already released or published to Greenlight under the Digital Homicide brand. The Slaughtering Grounds, Medieval Mercs, Forsaken Uprising, Deadly Profits, Six Nights at Susie's, Temper Tantrum 2. The first of these games to be officially published to Steam as a final product was The Slaughtering Grounds on October 31st, 2014, though Forsaken Uprising was in early access for a time before then, so let's just say mid-2014 is when Digital Homicide first crept onto Steam like a horrible Martian weed. Taking all the games published or trying to be published into account, in just over a year, Digital Homicide has managed to produce a staggering 19 games. And that's if I've not forgotten anything. This studio, that claims it puts effort into its games despite using pre-bought Unity 3D assets and seems to have an alarming amount of artistic pride despite having no artistic talent, seriously, as to buy its official game art from Shutterstock, it has put out almost 20 games in a matter of months. It's not so much releasing games as spamming Steam with them. Despite excited audience pressure to turn my recent coverage of Digihom into a full Jimquisition episode, I was hesitant. I'm aware my talking about them is viewed by some as beating a dead horse, petty, perhaps even bullying, though I disagree with the latter completely. Putting a number on the amount of shit Digital Homicide is trying to pull, however, laying it out there in a comprehensive list has put pay to my reluctance. See, despite Digital Homicide in the past trying to fuck with me financially, insult me personally, slander me to my face, censor my criticism, and level false allegations at me, I look at this as impersonally as possible and still see something that has to be talked about. Digital Homicide, in my opinion, represents the very worst of Steam's lacking quality control. Every exploitable hole, every disregarded rule, every shoddy piece of shovelware that's allowed onto the storefront. Oh, and did I mention Digital Homicide was trying to get games by another developer onto Steam by offering free download keys in exchange for Greenlight votes? Oh yeah, they tried to do that too. Everything bad about Steam, Digital Homicide embodies, proudly, seemingly without shame, yet strikingly defensive, sensitive to criticism in spite of having absolutely zero artistic integrity. When the threads of Digihom's latest scheme began to unravel and my coverage of its new Greenlight infections stepped up, I received a phone call from Robert Romijn himself, one I perceive to be a threat. Despite claiming he was not threatening me and that he just wanted us to come to an understanding, he mentioned several times that he has a lawyer who wants to sue me for defamation and that his brother is on board with the plan. Despite my pushing for a definitive answer, Robert could not answer the question as to what the understanding he wanted us to reach was, eventually submitting to me when I suggested he'd only be happy if I never mentioned his work again. Part of the reference legal action would be this supposed lawyer trying to force me to sign a document that promised never to talk about Digital Homicide under threat of that defamation suit going ahead. The suit would not target my videos, Robert claimed, as I was too protected by Maker Studios in that regard, but he suggested he'd go for the Jimquisition.com, which he believed to be more vulnerable. Sounds a bit like a predator, doesn't he? He cited an article I wrote about his company's original shenanigans, in which I at first claimed a piece of artwork they used was stolen from DeviantArt. When it came to my attention that the image was also sold on Shutterstock, I immediately corrected the article, but Robert claims that in Arizona, where I believe he'd like the case to be heard, even a corrected article is grounds for defamation. I tried to be as polite as it's possible to be while talking to Robert Romijn, and even went as diplomatically as to say I'd lay off them for a bit while I thought about the ramifications of his, let's say not threat because he didn't call it a threat, his warning. This seemed to satisfy him until I was upfront in saying I'd also need to speak to my legal advisor, as it would only be sensible to do so when someone tells you they've already got a lawyer chomping at the bit to sue you. At this point he became immediately agitated, said the decision was made, and promptly ended the conversation with the inference that this was gonna get litigious. As you can tell from the existence of this video, I'm not entirely convinced that a company with a flimsy attempt at a defamation suit, a history of potentially defaming statements on their own part, and a total lack of credibility as a result of dishonest behaviour and a woeful misunderstanding of the legal system has what it takes to take down Jim fucking Sterling's son. Digital Homicide, you are, in my opinion, the worst game developer I have ever encountered, boasting an incompetence matched only by your arrogance, and your presence on Steam is fucking cancerous. The things you do are not illegal, but they are by no means acceptable, they are by no means cool, and I do not personally find them ethical. And despite you thinking you've found one little shred of potentially litigious evidence, that's really what this is all about. You've been caught repeatedly in a web of your own bullshit, and you want an out. Well, I ain't giving it to you. Because as you coined the phrase yourself, I'm Jim fucking Sterling, son. Some people think I'm obsessed with Digital Homicide. It's actually quite amusing to note that a lot of the stuff they do, I don't seek out. It gets brought to me via various social media outlets, via email, via all manner of communication methods. People come to me with their latest happenings and shenanigans, and then I merely broadcast it. I'm not hunting them down. I am simply a medium through which their crap doth spray. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, I will be the first in line to congratulate the Romine brothers just as soon as they make a good game, or even a passable, acceptable one worth spending money on. And that takes time, gentlemen. That takes time and effort. Now, over the phone, Robert told me he has a business strategy that's apparently successful. I guess that's what this is, this spamming thing they're doing, perhaps. In which case, how dare you feign offence when I tell you that your shit is shit when you keep producing shovelware. But if you want to make a good game, if you want to get praise, if you want to be critically acclaimed, if you want people, general customers, to like what you do, take some time. Dust and Elysian Tale took a long time, okay? How many games has Jonathan Blow brought out? How many games has David Redden done? David Redden's last game came out recently, is his second game. His second main game after the Stanley Parable. Ed McMillan really hasn't done that many games because it takes time and effort. Put some in. Am I being harsh? I don't think I am. I think I'm refusing to spare the rod and spoil the children. Because, children, I'm Jim fucking Sterling's son, and throwing your toys out of the pram and threatening me with unbelievably weak litigation is not the way to improve your standing in the world. So get good, to quote the Dark Souls meme. Get good and thank God for the lever. Okay, breaking news coming in from the Fuck Konami news wire, all the news that's fit to make you say fuck Konami. It appears that microtransactions are go in the world of Konami once again. The FOB, Forward Operating Base System, the online mechanic of Metal Gear Solid 5, is now selling insurance. Yes, you can set up the bases in Metal Gear Solid 5, you should have heard of this by now, where you fill them with resources, staff, all this stuff, and you use microtransactions to build more, because of course you do. And those bases can be invaded by other players who go in and steal all of your resources if you don't fight them off. And because this stuff, you know, you might care about it, Konami is here to help by offering an insurance policy. Yes, if someone goes into your base and nicks your resources, Konami will replace them for a fee. Now, it's been rumoured for a while that Konami has gangster connections, and this has sealed the deal for me, because this is Konami basically saying, hey, that's a really nice forward operating base you got there. Shame if anything bad would happen to it. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. The sheer gauche ghoul of it all is incredible, incroyable, and wow. And this news comes at the same time as we've heard that they've filed a trademark for a pachinko machine named Big Boss. Oh yes, the Metal Gear Solid pachinko machine I joked about a few weeks ago looks like it's gonna happen. Because Konami is Konami, and Konami is the second worst after Digital Homicide. Stay safe, Seattle, and thank God for me!
doesn't matter who I am. What matters is how much I'm paying you. Oh yes. Oh yes, I'm good for the money.
I mean, seriously, have you seen my Patreon lately?
No, nothing. Shut up. Look, I can pay you just fine if you deliver the goods. You can deliver the...
Yeah? Oh, awesome. No, that is a huge weight off my mind. I didn't think I'd have them ready. Okay, no, I'll leave the money under the bridge, on Mark Bills, of course, and you just leave the stuff where I can pick them up in that parking lot. Yeah? Awesome! Thank you so much! Okay, bye. Bye. Huh. That CB is a charming man. Apparently, anonymous black market dealers aren't so bad after all.